Passover, we just sang about it, and the Exodus from away from Egypt into the land flowing with milk and honey. And I love the image of if God had just set out the banquet and not invited all the neighbors. Enough. That would have been enough. So there's some cheekiness in that and God inviting all the neighbors, right? And this kind of stuff, leading us into a land that was dry and wonderful, even though it was a desert. Enough, they say. It would have been enough. It's beautiful. The Passover story that was read to us, I read at the beginning of the Passover story, is the foundational story of salvation history for the Jewish people. We have Jesus as our foundational story. The Passover is the foundational story for the Jewish people of God's love and God's salvation. When God rescued them from slavery in Egypt. And I'm the choir, it's like we're simpatico here, sang from the Prince of Egypt this morning. And I have a clip from the Prince of Egypt of what they said, what they thought the Passover looked like. I've always found it a really nice little rendition. So the quality is not fantastic, but here's what Spielberg thought it might look like.
God has come to me again, saying, "Take a lamb, and with its blood, mark the lintel and posts of every door. For tonight, I shall pass through the land of Egypt and smite all the firstborn. But when I see the blood upon your door, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not enter."
I didn't continue with the rest of it where the spirit goes and takes the lives of Egyptian firstborn, not just children, but all the firstborn of Egypt. And that's the tough part about the Passover. It's the hard part. I just want you to know, has been challenged through the Jewish theology for thousands of years. Many rabbis, many scholars have written about the troubling aspect of the Passover, which is for the salvation of the Jewish people from slavery, there is a slaughter, a plague. It's the 10th plague of God on the Egyptian people. And then that's not to mention the whole Red Sea covering the chariots and all that stuff, as you remember. Cecil B. DeMille put it so wonderfully in the film. So we wrestle with the Passover. And actually I was a bit frozen and paralyzed last week when thinking about, now what is it I can say about the Passover? Because we want to rejoice that God saves the oppressed. That is the base message of the Passover story. God saves and is on the side of slaves. Those who are hurt, those who are down in their luck, people who have been oppressed or victimized, God will lift them up. That's the story of the Bible, right there, in case you forgot. The Passover is this great image. But there's this, for someone to win, someone has to lose part that is very tough, especially a slaughtering God. We wrestled with that with Noah, and here it is again in Passover. But there are other important points in this story that I have always missed. The first is that God asks them, first and foremost, to form a community of equality. It's in the recommendations by God about the lamb. God says every household will take a lamb, slaughter it, keep it 4 days, And on the 14th day, they started to take it on the 10th day, keep it in their house for 4 days. On the 14th day at midnight, slaughter it, take its blood, put it on the lintel of the door. The door jamb is what I grew up calling it. And if a household is not large enough to have a lamb of its own, it is to join with another household, and they are to obtain one together. So it's not if they're not large enough to eat a whole lamb, because the word obtaining comes in after. It's if a household isn't large enough to actually have a lamb or purchase a lamb. Could be a goat, could be a sheep. It says either. Then that household is to join with another household, and together we'll get a lamb. And then it says, every single person shall eat of the lamb equally. It will be divided equally among the household and the guests that you have. It's first and foremost a story of if we're going to go through this, God says, if I'm going to save you, if we're going to live like this and start something new, it's going to be filled with equality. Because all around you in Egypt, all you have seen is inequality and injustice. All around you have seen mightier people putting down lesser people. You've seen empire and force and inequality crush others. So God says, first and foremost, today we start a new community. And you know, it says, God says, and you're to eat it like this. You're to eat it with your loins girded. That means ready to walk, because you got to pull the men had to pull up their ephod to get, easy to walk. Your loins girded, you're prepared, your staff in hand, knapsack ready, and eat it hurriedly. We're going to get going after this. We're going to become a community, but it's going to be a community of equality. Always miss that part. Then God says this funny thing, and if you have any leftovers, burn them. Okay. It's very hard for a 21st century audience to understand that. Leftovers, burn them. What? God is saying, you don't need to take anything with you. I will give you food later. Right? Manna from heaven. Remember? Quails and manna. Quails and manna. God says, burn the food that's left over. You're all good prairie people. What? Throw out the leftovers? Never! Right? That piece of string that's only this long may be used for something. When you cut the crust off the bread, you keep them from dressing, right? For tonight. The Jewish people were the same way in Egypt. They were slaves. They were poor. They would have kept everything. And in fact, God instructs them to eat every part of the lamb, from tip to tail. But then says, okay, do that so there's not a lot of waste, but if there is some, burn it. Because you won't need food. I'll give it to you. It's a huge shift from a mindset of scarcity. We don't have enough, we don't have enough, we don't have enough, to the mindset of abundance. Mayfair United Church has worked at that a lot over the years. We're getting there. From a mindset of scarcity, which is huge in North America, to a mindset of abundance. God says, you're going to be a community of equality, and you are going to be a community of abundance, because I'm going with you. So burn the food. You don't need it. I love this message of Passover. This beginning of a new community. They were shaped for 40 years in the desert into a community of faithfulness, community of God. One final caveat. It is so easy to be angry at the Egyptians. Oh, those darn Egyptians. Didn't you just hate Yul Brynner? Moses, I will not let your people go. Remember? Yul Brynner. Kind of looked like this. A little bit more like Ron Fair, actually, but he had stature. I will not let your people go, right? Remember that? We hated him. Easy to hate him. His wife was sniveling kids and all this kind of, hey, God. Right? Friends, we're the Egyptians. We are the Egyptians in this story. We are certainly not the slaves. We are the empire in North America. We are 100 times bigger and more powerful than Egypt ever was. We are the empire. We are the people who have forgotten about abundance. We are the people who have forgotten about sharing equally, in equal portion. We have this odd propensity for gathering stuff and gathering more than we need, and holding on to it and keeping others away from the rest. It's a weird North American trait of ours. Abundance plus more abundance while believing we live in scarcity. We are the Egyptians in the Passover story. We are the ones that those who are oppressed would love to get away from. Doesn't that just break your heart? Breaks my heart. The good news is we got Turkey Supper to save us. Turkey Supper, save us. Save us, Turkey Supper. Every year, we're scattered like leaves to the wind, as our prayer said during the summertime. And then Turkey Supper just brings us right back. Almost like we've killed a lamb and spread blood above our door to form community. Turkey Supper brings us back, and we absolutely glow with hospitality. We get mad at each other in the kitchen, but we glow with hospitality when the company's here, just like my family, right? Oh, welcome! Davey, don't shoot it, but welcome, Aunt Pam and Uncle Bill. Come in, we're having kids, right? It's exactly how we are on the Hospitality Sunday. On Turkey Supper Sunday, it can save us. I want you, like I said, put on your little new eyeballs today, like the kids. I want you to look around at the Turkey Supper. It's not just routine. It's like this beautiful, well-oiled machine. We don't think it's going to be, and then it just happens. But it does take effort. And it takes a sense of hospitality that is rare in our world. I want you to imagine every person coming in that door needing equality, needing food, needing love, needing hospitality from us. They've come to us for it. I want you to think of every person coming through that door as having been sent by God, and every one of us having been gathered by God, not by accident, but by God, to serve. And with our special Turkey Supper eyeballs, I want us to think about all of the actions of equality that could happen during Turkey Supper. You want some more gravy? You can have more gravy. Me? Yes, you. And you. You can have more gravy. There's these little acts, gravy for everyone, of equality that happen at Turkey Supper. These acts of abundance, these acts of hospitality, these acts of forming community as God would have us form. And that could carry us right into a good fall, full of discipleship and servanthood. May it be so. Amen.